Good morning, everyone. This is Father Nate, missionary priest in Italy, and thanks for joining us today, April 19th, on No Greater Delight, our podcast on Marian feast and Marian meditations. Well, today we have a great number of feasts, and they take us throughout the world. So we'll get started then with Our Lady of Lyon in France, and it takes us back to the year 1643, right? Indeed, the site actually goes way, way back. It's about the year 150 AD that Saint Pothinus, the Apostle of Gaul and the first Bishop of Lyon, is said to have enshrined a picture of Our Lady in an underground chapel beneath what is now the church of Saint Nazier or Nizier in Lyon, where many Christians suffered death in the old forum on the Hill of Blood. So, according to tradition, there used to be a temple to Attis on the site, right? And it was the followers of this god or goddess that began a persecution against Christians around the year 177, right? Later, around the 5th century, they built a basilica on the site, and the remains of many Christian martyrs from that persecution were buried there, and that's also the burial place of the bishops of Lyon, right? The church takes the name from Nicetus of Lyon, who was the 28th bishop there in the 6th century, due to the many numerous miracles that occurred after his burial. In 1168, the canons of the cathedral started building even a larger church, right? In thanksgivings for the cure of his son, attributed to this saint's intercession, King Louis VII of France made a pilgrimage to Lyon, where he had a votive offering set up before the shrine of Our Lady, right? And in 1466, King Louis XI asked for a daily mass to be said in perpetuity, right? To be followed by the Salve Regina, always solemnly sung, right? In 1638, King Louis XIII consecrated France to the Blessed Virgin Mary, right? In 1643, shortly thereafter, the bubonic plague swept across Europe. The people of Lyon dedicated their city to Our Lady and consecrated themselves to Our Lady of Fourvière, pledging to make a solemn procession on September 8th of every year in thanksgiving for the end of the epidemic. And they say instantly, all traces of the plague vanished, right? And until 1792, 25 masses were said daily in thanksgiving, right? The annual procession continues even to this day. And it said the mayor of Lyon, or at least one of his representatives, takes part in it, right? And it said on that day too, interestingly enough, the people make a present to the Virgin of a 7-pound candle and 1 golden coin. Next, we go across the ocean to La Virgen del Verdún in Minas Valleja in Uruguay. So the Virgin of the Verdún is very tiny. It's a 10-inch statue, right? It's illuminated at night. Oh, no, sorry. It's not a 10-inch statue. It's a 10-foot statue. That's actually rather big, which stands on a 62-foot-high pedestal, right, on the Verdún Hill overlooking the town of Minas in southeastern Uruguay. The shrine was dedicated on was dedicated on April 19th, 1910, and attracts thousands of visitors annually, particularly on that date, right? And it was chosen because it was on that date in 1825 on which the famous 33 patriots, led by local hero Juan Lavalleja, crossed El Rio de la Plata to liberate Uruguay from Brazil. The statue is a traditional Immaculate Conception statue, standing childless, head uncovered, in a white robe and blue mantle with a crescent moon at her feet, right? Next, we're going to cross the ocean again. We probably could have been more efficient in our movements, but we'll go to, Sus Maria Besno, Godolo, Pest, Hungary. And it says there, that means the Virgin Mary, yes. The statue was found in 1759, right? It says Maria Besnio is one of the best-known pilgrimage sites in Hungary, with the Basilica of the Lady of Our Assumption as its main attraction. Tradition has it that in the 18th century, as the church was being constructed, they found a statue of Mary, which made the village an instant place of pilgrimage, right? It was Janos Fidler, the assistant stonemason, who found the statue of Mary, which was only 10 centimeters high and made of bone, as they were constructing the church, right? The story goes that a dream had previously shown this assistant mason the exact location of the miraculous object deep in the soil. So the statue, which dates from around the 13th and 14th centuries, so it had obviously been buried quite a while, was later decorated by diamonds by the Grasalovic family, right? The heads of the Virgin and child Jesus were decorated by crowns of precious stones, while Mary's waist is adorned with a belt, right? So it's a very beautiful thing. And the church itself, when construction began in 1759, was built on the model of La Santa Casa in Loreto, right? And then we also, that's good for that. We will jump down to Mar de Dios de Maraquel in Consentiana, Valencia, Spain. It was in 1529 that the statue cried blood, right? So the area surrounding Consentiana, commemorates April 19th every year as the Miracle of the Tears, in honor of the events that took place in the first quarter of the 16th century, so 1520, when the image of Our Lady of the Miracle cried 27 tears. And last but not least, we go to Madonna dei Monti in Ornago in Milan. So this beautiful sanctuary is dedicated to Our Lady and to the Holy Souls of Purgatory, as a vow and recognition for the liberation of the city from an extraordinary and disastrous drought, which for a long time afflicted the land. And so that's what we're celebrating today in the Marian world on April 19th. For today's Marian meditation, taken from the book by Father Ildefonso Villar, we start meditation 57, again entitled The Life at Nazareth. But here we're talking about the finding of the child Jesus in the temple. So let's begin with our first point, the finding of the child. It took them 3 days to find him. What long days! What long nights! All day long they would run from one place to another, inquiring here and there. This intense activity would to some extent mitigate the sufferings of Mary. But at nightfall, when she would retire to her rest, tired and exhausted by the sorrow and the day's fatigue, what would she think on finding herself alone? How her imagination would picture Jesus, perhaps already suffering his passion and death for men. Accompany your mother during those terrible nights. Try to fathom the depth of her sorrow at the loss of Jesus. Know how to imitate her if one day you too are visited by the same tribulation. If you too one day lose Jesus, or run the risk of losing him. At last the day of rejoicing dawns. Mary and Joseph come back to Jerusalem, search the courtyards and annexes of the temple, and finally find their life. They see Jesus peacefully talking to the doctors. What a variety of feelings floods the heart of Mary. On the one side, immense joy, because she has found the child safe and whole. On the other, gratitude to God for having granted them again the possession of their child. Feelings, too, of admiration and astonishment, on seeing their child, always so modest and humble, entering into public discussion with the doctors of the law and teaching them. What was the meaning of it all? For today's reading from The Admirable Heart of Mary by St. John Eudes, we continue with Part 8, The Admirable Heart of Mary's holiness as a source of this devotion. And we can continue with Chapter 2, Heart of Mary, Ocean of Grace. Immense and eternal thanks be to the sovereign author of grace, who gave his blessed mother so great and vast a heart, and filled it with such riches that it became an ocean of grace and a sea of blessings for all true children of her most sweet and loving heart. O admirable heart, you were ever closed to sin of every kind, and filled with the highest sanctity of which a human heart is capable. Behold, I now offer you my heart. Deign to take full and eternal possession of it. Suffer not that anything displeasing to God may enter my heart, but implore his divine majesty to establish in it the perfect reign of his grace and of his love. Not only is the admirable heart of the Saviour's mother an ocean of grace, containing and almost infinitely surpassing all the graces of the Church, triumphant and militant, but it is also their source and origin. As the Eternal Father chose Mary from all eternity, that through her we might receive him who is the first author and principle of all grace, so did God likewise choose her, that through his handmaid we might receive all the graces proceeding from that first source. As God deigned to give us a Savior only with the Holy Virgin's consent, so also did he eternally decree to grant any gift or grace only through Mary. God wishes us to have everything through Mary's hands, says Saint Bernard. None is saved but through thee, O Holy Virgin, says Saint Germanus of Constantinople. None is delivered from evil but through thee. Through thee alone do all receive the gifts and grace of God. Hence does the Church salute and invoke her as Mother of Grace, Maria Mater Gratiae. It is no wonder, exclaims St. Bonaventure, that the graces of all the saints overflow in Mary as the rivers flow into the sea. For the grace of graces was to be communicated to the whole Church by her. According to the saying of St. Augustine, "You are full of grace, O Mary. Of grace you did find in the bosom of God, which you were found worthy to spread over the whole earth."
Hello, and we hope that you enjoyed listening to our Marian podcast. In the spirit of Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, we say to you that there is no greater delight than to spread the devotion of Our Lady. We hope you share these sentiments and encourage you greatly to share with a loved one. Know that you are always in our prayers, and we ask that you keep us in yours. God bless.